Welcome back. In this video, we're going to start with our rock, paper, scissors application because we have almost everything ready to get started. Therefore, let's go ahead and actually create a new project. So I'm going to create a new project like this, and I'm going to use no activity again. Click on next, and I'm going to call this one rock, paper, scissors, like this, I believe. And everything else can stay the same. Let's go ahead and click finish to create this little project. Now you can close the old project by just closing Visual Android Studio, and then we can go from there. So it constantly reminds me of updating something or whatever. So what do we need to do first? So can you recall how we can set up a file, a Kotlin file, so that we can execute code in it? I hope you recall. So basically we need to go into this Kotlin Java folder and then go ahead and create a new Kotlin class file and select file here. And I'm going to call this one rock, paper, scissors. Okay, and press enter. Now we need the main function in here like so, and then we could start. All right, so let's go ahead from here. So the first thing we need to consider when we do rock, paper, scissors is the choices. So the game is actually quite simple. It's two choices that collide with each other and one thing beats the other thing. Okay, and that's basically it. So let's go ahead and store choices. So the first one will be the computer choice, which will be an empty string at the beginning. And then we will go with the player choice, which will also be an empty string at the beginning. So these are two variables that we created for the two different choices that we have. Now, the next thing that we can do is we need to let the player know what the player should enter. So how can we do that? Can you recall? Okay, I hope you paused and thought about it. We can tell them rock, paper, or scissors. Enter your choice. Okay, so we tell the user what to do. That's good. And then we can go ahead and store inside of player choice whatever the player has entered. So read ln. Okay, now we get the player's choice and we can just take whatever we entered and work with it. Now, how do we get a choice for the computer? Because now we need to implement logic for the computer. And here we're going to use something that is new. We're going to use a random number. So we can generate a random number. And we can do so, and I'm going to create this variable called random number. We can do so by defining in which range we want that number to be. So the computer now should be able to take a number from 1 to 3, and that should happen randomly. So there is this function called random. So we can apply that on a range. So this here is a range, and we can apply the random function onto that range, which will then select a number out of those randomly. So in this case, it can be 1, 2, and 3, and we'll take one of those randomly and store it inside of random number. So now we need to define what is what. So if the random number is 1, we could say it's rock. If the random number is 2, we would say it's paper. And if the random number is 3, then we would say scissors. So now for you as a little challenge, pause the video after I explain what you need to do. So what you should do is you should create an if statement that checks if the random number is 1, then it should check if the random number is 2, and it should check if the random number is 3. And it should assign the associated string to the computer choice. So it should assign rock with 1. So if the random number is 1, it should assign rock to computer choice. If the random number is 2, it should use paper or assign paper to the computer choice variable. And if it's 3, then it should be scissors. All right, so please go ahead and try that. You can just use 3 if statements after another. You could obviously also use if else statements as we've seen before, and if else statements. Okay, so go ahead. All right, so I hope you tried it. So I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to go with if statements. So random number equal 1. So if that's the case, then assign computer choice to be rock. And now let me just duplicate this. If it's 2, then paper, and here otherwise it will be scissors, and that is if the random number is 3. So that's one way of doing it, right? You can just do it with 3 if statements. Now, how is this different to if we were to use else if statements? Just as a little side note for you, if we use it like this, then if this is true, then that code here would not be executed anymore. So we are saving computational time / effort, so to speak, if we do that. You can also see it recommends to use a when statement. When we use such a cascade, we're going to look at that in a bit. But for now, that should be good. So let's just see what the computer choice is by printing it out. So computer choice should be printed out. Let's just run our application real quick. And here I'm going to run it by clicking on this run button. And as we do it the first time, the Gradle will start building, which takes a little bit. And again, I get this error. So let me rerun it by pressing this rerun button. And there we are. So now it says rock, paper, scissors. Enter your choice. So I'm going to enter rock. And then it says paper. So now we could already see I have entered rock and the computer entered paper. So in that case, the computer would have won. So now we just need to implement the logic where we compare what I wrote and assign what wins against what, and compare that to what the computer has chosen. And then let me know whether I lost or won. Okay, so that is what we're going to do in the next video. So very good start. Now you know how to use random numbers and how to assign values to a string based on a random number, which we just did with this if statement. Okay, so see you in the next video.